Okay, the 16th Mayor and City Council meeting will come to order. I'll everybody to stand for the invocation by Reverend Litchfield and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mayor Mo.
Well, we have Cub Scouts.
Wait, what Cub Scouts come forward? Come stand next to the mayor and you lead the...
They're gonna do the pledge, not the prayer.
Okay.
All right up here.
You can stand in front of us.
Oh, smile, you're on TV. I'll listen to prayer.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we gather this evening hour to conduct the business of this city. We offer a prayer for our mayor, for the president, for the members of the city council, and for all in authority. Grant unto them a sense of justice, strength, and wisdom as they perform their duty in behalf of all thy people. We commend to your grace the care and keeping all the men and women of our armed forces at home and abroad, our law enforcement and our fire and rescue, and thy people. Defend them day by day with your heavenly grace, strengthen them in their trials and temptations, and give them courage to face the peril which may beset them. Grant unto each a sense of your abiding presence. Remember those who lie upon the bed of affliction, comfort those who mourn. In the name of the one who is Lord of life, we pray. Amen.
Turn this way, guys.
Flags right here. We're gonna follow your lead.
Go ahead.
Ready? Go. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, guys.
Get them? Okay.
She wants to take your picture.
You can put your hats on. Cover your face. On it. Move in a little bit.
Got us all?
I do.
All right, guys.
A few more cameras. Hold on.
Oh.
All right. Thank you guys very much. Good job. Thank y'all.
Call the roll, Ms. Rau.
Mr. DeWalt?
Here.
Mr. Sidnor?
Here.
Ms. Nicholas? Here. Mr. Smalls?
Here.
President Les?
Here.
Mayor Mel?
Okay, let's move to approval of minutes, starting with approval of minutes of the 15th meeting, July 23rd, 2018. What's the pleasure of the council?
Move to approve the July 23rd minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
A second, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Sidnor. Any discussion? Call roll, Ms. Rau.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Mr. Smalls?
vote yes.
President Les?
Yes. Move to the next agenda item, approval of minutes of the work session of September 5th, 2018. What's the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Call the roll, Ms. Rau.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
President Les?
Yes. Move to the approval of minutes of the closed session of Monday, July 23rd, 2018. What's the pleasure of the council?
Well, yes, approve the minutes. Motion on the floor to approve the minutes with closed session, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Sidnor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. DeWalt. Discussion? Call the roll, Ms. Rau.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
President Les?
Yes. Approval of minutes of the closed session of Wednesday, September 5th, 2018. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President, I move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Do I have a second?
Oh, yes, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Sidnor. Any discussion? Call the roll, Ms. Rau.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
President Les?
Yes. Report of the mayor and city council. I'll call on Mr. DeWalt.
What I'd like to report is that last week I had tomorrow's not marks 9/11, the 17th. It's not a celebration. The recognizing the people that were killed as a result of terrorist act on our country. Last week I visited the Flight 93 Memorial. I've been up there at least a dozen times. And I know we hear a lot about the Twin Towers in New York, and especially the Pentagon because we're so close to that area. But don't forget about Flight 93 landed in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. It's about it's about an hour and 10 minutes from a place that I have up around Western Maryland. And 40 people lost their lives in that plane. And they say that the terrorists wanted to hijack that plane, turn it around, and it would have been a 15 or 20-minute ride in that plane to Washington, D.C., and that was their intended target. But the 40 people on that plane decided to overtake the terrorists on that plane, which caused the plane to go down into a field, into a large hole, and it was there wasn't much left of that plane or the people once it hit the ground. But this is the they just on Sunday and I've been waiting for it. They constructed a 93-foot tower on the site, and they just dedicated on Sunday. They put 40 wind chimes in there. And if you ever go there, you'll see that it's always windy up there. So they said that wind chime will play music in honor of those 40 people for the rest of eternity, which is a very, very nice tribute to those people. So I just wanted everybody to not forget that there was another plane and it did go down with 40 heroes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeWalt. Let me just note that there's a sign-up sheet to my right if you want to speak at the public hearing. And there'll be some exceptions, but there's 3 minutes allowed for each speaker. Mr. Sidnor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I attended the back-to-school drive with the Laurel Boys of Trade and the rest of the city council members. Also conducted a partnership with a Cut Above Barbershop. We did a free haircut at the school drive on August 26th. I want to thank the mayor and Communication Director Audrey Barnes for sending out a public service announcement for the city of Laurel. Residents come out. This was a successful event. We cut about maybe 30 kids' hair, and maybe 20 people, total 50 people came out. School supplies. He had a lot of extra school supplies too, so we took those extra school supplies to Martin Luther King Middle School. And that's concluded my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sidnor. Ms. Nicholas.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody back from a wonderful and very hot summer. I, too, through my nonprofit, gave out 165 book bags. I do have some left if there's anybody who needs them. We attended a lot of events throughout the summer, so I just like to say we're glad to be back.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholas. Mr. Smalls.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had the pleasure of attending the City Hall in the Park at Centennial Park that was hosted by the mayor and the administration. I also attended the Negro League baseball game that was held at the minor league baseball field in Bowie. That same day, I also attended the back-to-school family event that was held at Goody Lake, where a number of backpacks of school supplies were provided to our young people. I had the opportunity to attend the WSSC water main replacement over Irving Street briefing that was held at the WSSC offices. That water main replacement project will be, if it hasn't already begun, it will be taking place very soon. I'd like to offer condolences to Pastor Sonia King, pastor of St. Mark's, on the passing of her mother. and get well wishes to Ms. Doris Harris, godmother of Councilwoman Nicholas. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. The members of your council and the mayor were at many different events, starting at the beginning of August, even though that's our month off. We had fun in the sun at Greenview Pool. I want to thank Leah for arranging the block party for Ellicott City. We raised some money. It was forwarded to the appropriate entity up in Ellicott City. Laurel Police Department held their quarterly rewards. Congratulations to all those that were recognized. Volunteer picnic at Greenview Pool. Mayor and I attended the AAA, AAA Service Center at the open mall. The interesting thing was I said something about the books 50 years ago my father used to depend on to go across country. And they were spiral bound at the top and you folded them over, and they say they still have them, but they generate them on a computer now, and they had some of the old ones in the back room. We had the Emancipation Day celebration. The chicken was very good.
You didn't tell them
I still wanted the spiral one. That's what I wanted. Emancipation Day celebration, the chicken was very good. Last Friday night, Anthony Brown was at SIPS here in Laurel. The interesting thing in listening to Anthony, they placed 14 of our young people into service academies this year. And that's a large number for a state like Maryland. So anybody that's watching that's interested in the academy, he's the go-to guy, Anthony Brown. And then yesterday, I'll let the mayor mention it, but I'm just going to say we attended a picnic inside a building. And with that, I'll go to the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Condolences, I just found out, thank you, Councilman Smalls, on Sonia King's mother passing away, as well as family and friends of Mr. Hamone and family and friends of Cliff Collins, Eileen Collins' husband, who's very involved in the city, passed away. We wish Eileen and her family our thoughts and prayers. Also to the family and friends of Patty Johnston, who was passed away, and her father was a longtime member of our police department in the dispatch center, Paul Johnston, as well as the family and friends of William Dove. With concurrence of the president, on September the 24th, that meeting, we will start at 5 o'clock. From 5 until 5:30, we're very hopeful. And then from 5:30 to 7, we're going to do a reception. And that reception, let me announce, is in honor of Marty Fleming, who last month turned in some paperwork to me that said he was ready to retire after 43 years. Marty is our city administrator, a well-deserved vacation coming up. I want to thank him for his service, and we want to thank you, Marty, on the 24th. So we'll be doing that, and Mr. President, so long as you're okay, and the council will plan to do that from 5 again, from on the 24th, from 5 until 5:30, and then from 5:30 to 7 a reception. And a lot of people want to come and wish Marty well. I did have the opportunity to attend the Islamic Community Center summer picnic. I want to thank them for the invitation to be with them, as well as the Prince George's County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Service paid tribute to Robert Grant, we all call, and those that may know him, Pop Grant. He's a longtime member of the Laurel Fire Department. Very nice honor that they gave to Pop Grant, as well as 5 others in the county. So it says a lot to be recognized by them. Tomorrow we were supposed to make an announcement out in front. We're just very concerned about the weather. We're going to cancel the event tomorrow. We still have time to make that announcement. That event won't take place until mid-November, as well as City Hall in the Park is going to be canceled next week as well. I want to thank Christian. I want to thank your staff for the work they continue to do with their workshops, well-attended workshops that they've had here that your staff has been putting on, as well as the block party fundraiser for Ellicott City. And we had some bad weather then, but got off, made some money, and I appreciate all the work that you all have done. Did have, again, Laurel Police Department did Cops Camp, and the graduation was on August the 17th. And you heard Councilman Smalls talk about the Negro League Legends Baseball Hall of Fame, which was in Bowie. I got to throw out one of the pitches with about 3 other mayors. I got it across. Good thing, because I was the last one, and everybody else threw great pitches. So I got it across. But it was a great opportunity. It was well attended, and it was a very hot day, and a lot of residents from Laurel were there, and it was good to be involved with that, as well as the back to school jam with the Laurel Board of Trade. Want to thank them and council for their work, as well as Councilman Sidnor with the haircuts, a cut above. I walked in, they were trying to give me a haircut. I said, mine just falls out anymore. So, but again, want to thank Keith. And again, the council does a lot throughout the year, but also in particular back to school. I still think it's important for all of us to get together, to work, to put all those resources together and make sure that those supplies are getting in the right place and that everybody has an opportunity. So hopefully we'll work on that some next year for the back to school. We did host the City of Rockville, the Mayor and City Council, toured our Emergency Operations Center in the back a couple weeks ago. They are looking to do something internally as well. We thank them for coming to Laurel, and hopefully we gave them a few ideas, as well as the Laurel Police Department's quarterly awards. Let me congratulate all of those individuals. Our officers do a lot year in and year out, and it's good that we recognize them. And we put out press releases and all those things. So take a look at our website, because a lot of the times that doesn't make the news, and they do great things for the community. We did have the City of Laurel a volunteer picnic again. It's a way of the Mayor and City Council thanking the many volunteers that do much of the work every year, working with our senior management staff and do great things. As I've always said, it's the volunteers that really make the community, really make things happen. So it's our a small way of saying thank you. Tonight, you'll notice on the boards again, and council are working towards paperless. We are using what's called board docs. You can see this at home. You can sign on. We're not there fully yet, but there'll be more documents that you'll actually be able to see. That'll be attached to this, and if you have questions, you can contact the clerk's office, and they can help you. So you're able to sign on and watch and read the different things that we're looking at up here. The Mayor's Summer Jobs Program, again, great students, and just again, as I say every year, we wish we had more money, because I think it's one of the best programs that we have here in the city and each of the departments takes on that task. And as I've said every year, if we had more money, we would do more. But I can tell you, it pays dividends. They learn about government. They're not just answering telephones and making copies. They're involved. And we have now 3 that have graduated that are now employees of the City of Laurel after they've gone through school. Some are going to college and others, but we have 3 of those individuals. The Emancipation Day celebration, again, I want to thank you for the invitation to be with them. A great opportunity, and more importantly, they want to try to St. Mark's Church, talk to some of the individuals that were there. They want to try to bring back the parade and have a few other things. So we've made a commitment to make sure we work with them for next year's event, and hopefully they'll be in touch with us. I did have the opportunity on September the 3rd to attend the Capital Youth Cricket Championship, which is over off of Brockbridge Road. There were probably 600 kids from all over the country that were there. They gave me one of the bats, not that I know how to use it, but it was a great opportunity to really see what's happening, because we have had individuals, when we go to different meetings, ask for us to find some property for them to be able to play cricket. So I know Joanne, our Department of Park and Recreations, has met with individuals as well, but just I really didn't know how many people brought. They were from Missouri, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland. There were, just all over, and it was really happy to be there and be able to watch. And then, as you heard the president say, it's St. Mary of the Mills, 175-year anniversary in their block party. You may have noticed the tents out there. I'm not sure why they put it inside yesterday, but it was a great time inside. Unfortunately, it rained way too much, and you'd have probably been swimming across to get to the tents. They did present to the city a portrait, a painting of the St. Mary's Church. It looked like there was only 500 made, and they gave us number 9. We'll have that brought here at city government. Yesterday was just not a good day. I wasn't going to chance it to run to my car and put it in my car after their presentation, but we thank them for that, and we'll make sure it's hung in the appropriate place here in City Hall. On September the 22nd, the City of Laurel employees are going to have City of Laurel Employees Community Relations Committee will have a yard sale here at City Hall. They're bringing that back. It's been a big success, but it'll be here at the Municipal Center on the 22nd from 9 until 1. And then Councilmember Mary Lehman is having her annual Community Family Day at Fairlawn Aquatics Center from 2 until 6 on September the 22nd as well. So we encourage you to stop by. And Mr. President, that concludes. Who is it? I don't even have it. Here you go. We also have an appointment, Environmental Affairs Committee. Dina. What is it?
Bonner.
To the Environmental Affairs.
Thank you, Mayor. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President, I move for approval of Ms. Bonner to the Environmental Affairs Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Carl. Any discussion? Call the roll, Ms. Rau.
Mr. Smalls,
I vote yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas,
Yes.
President Les.
Yes. Move to general public hearing. I'll open the general public hearing at 7:22. I have no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone wishing to speak at the general public hearing? Seeing no one, I will close the general public hearing at 7:22 and a half. As I said, we're going to have a little bit longer presentation tonight. Next presentation is an update from the University of Maryland Medical System on the status of Laurel Hospital.
I think that mic's already on.
I think you're good to go.
Good to go.
Okay. Why don't you just tell everybody who you are,
Will.
if you will, please.
There you go. Just want to make sure that it's working. Good evening. Good evening. I am Dr. Trudy Hall, the Vice President of Medical Affairs and Interim President of Laurel Regional Hospital, University of Maryland. Thank you, Mayor Moe, the council, residents of Laurel, as well as leadership of Capital Region Health and University of Maryland Laurel Regional Hospital. Thank you for having us to come back officially and to give you an update. I know we've been before you numerous times and we've had multiple conversations. So this is really just to tell you where we are along with the process, as well as to answer any questions. So thank you for your time and allowing us to be here today. So just to go over quickly what we will talk about, we'll give an overview of an update regarding our community outreach and engagement activities, our workforce development, the proposed services at Laurel Medical Center, the campus development, and review the timeline. I'd like to start with a quick story about a patient, because this is why we're all here. This weekend, I was at a conference at the Eastern Shore, and a room full of 400 women, and I was sitting at a table with a group of women that I did not know or have never met. Engaging in conversation, the woman that was next to me was a nurse, And ironically, her husband had care at Laurel Regional Hospital a couple of months ago. It was so nice to hear that she was very pleased with the care that her husband received, and that she didn't know who to thank. And I was sitting next to her, and we were able to exchange information and to give a thank you. But again, at the end of the day, that's why we're here. It's about the community and the patients we serve. And you can go anywhere, so as far as the Eastern Shore, and still may possibly run into a patient or family that has received care. So that was really a nice, positive way to start the weekend. So just to go over our community outreach, our last meeting, we gave a long list of a lot of the groups that we have met with. At the top, you'll see a picture of the clergy. We had attendees included pastors from the area churches, including Pastor William Butler out of Beltsville, the Islamic Community Center, St. Mary of the Mills, Pastor Strong and Pastor McGee. We had 10 faith leaders representing various faiths from the surrounding areas at the University of Maryland, and those meetings were on February 8th and April 5th. It was a very positive conversation and really looking at how we can partner with our community health ministries, as well as understanding what their needs are for their congregations. Also in the community, we've continued our outreach with flyers. We've met with different associations, with schools, neighborhood groups, senior facilities, other elected officials, and we are still getting requests for our team to go out and continue to give updates. We have also have plans to reach out to the Spanish-speaking community. We have made contact with St. Mary of the Mills and Resurrection of Our Lord, and we're looking probably within the next month to actually do an outreach to the Spanish-speaking community in those two venues. Also, we've talked to Delegate Pina Melnick, and she has agreed to have Dr. Vega, who is our medical director of our emergency room, and myself to actually be on her talk show so we can actually reach that community. Also, we've done outreach to our physicians. There's a new statewide primary care program that we are helping primary care practices provide a more comprehensive array of services to their patients. The focus on this primary care is overall transformation to meet the overall needs of the patients of our community. The quality improvement activities are really done in a more coordinated screenings. You may not be able to read all the circles, but what it is it's actually through the University of Maryland Quality Care Network, expanding resources to Prince George's County as well as to Laurel. So including would be behavioral health consults and telepsychiatry, pharmacy expertise and medication management, modernizing their practice operations, having some resources to do social risk assessments, transition of care, quality improvement activities, and anticipating patient needs. So we had numerous meetings with many physicians that are and are not affiliated with Laurel, and we're actually trying to sign up some of them in the community for this quality-based network. We've partnered with Laurel High School this year, and there was a need. The principal came and said, I have so many students that have challenges and are not able to get their back-to-school physicals. So we partnered with some of our community physicians as well as our orthopedic group locally, and we walked in and we saw 108 students that lined the hallways waiting for their physicals. It kind of brought me back to why we do what we do, and it was just so great to talk to the students and hear what sports they were participating in, and also what were their plans for the future. So I think it was a very good interaction with our physician assistants and our physicians, and I even put on a white coat and did a couple physicals myself. But it was really, really positive, and it was just a joy to work with the school, and we're looking to continue to partner with them and give them some resources regarding some of their sports program as well as some intervention. We've done a lot in the community with social media. You have to be on social media in this day and age. So we've done a lot with our communications and marketing team with Janae and Shantae, our group here from University of Maryland. And we've been reaching I know they know all of the social media, Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and a lot of us are learning all of these ways, but these are ways that we actually will reach our community. I would like for Veronica Ford to come up, and our VP of HR for Capital Region Health, and just give us an update regarding our HR. Thank you, and thanks for having us here. So the last time we came, I told you all the plans that we had for the workforce, and I'm here to now tell you some of the results of the plans. As you know, I had mentioned that we were partnering with Prince George's Community College to offer CNA program for our employees, the workforce. We had 30 employees who expressed interest, 23 employees who decided to sign up, and 21 that completed the 12-week program. So I'm quite proud of it. Of those that completed, and they were represented and unrepresented employees, we have 4 that have already landed jobs that have increased their wages by at least 10%, and in some cases, even higher. So that was very successful and a good partnership with Prince George's Community College. We also said that we would do one-on-one meetings with our employees and let them do job shadowing. We absolutely did the one-on-ones. We did the job shadowing. We also completed computer-based training classes for all of our employees. I would also like to add that the union, too, has posted up classes that employees can take 24 hours a day, online classes that give them CEUs and other certifications as well. Phase 2 of this is doing more so that we can continue to develop the workforce. So what we're offering in Phase 2 is patient care tech training. It is a partnership with Associated Black Charities. The union is attending the meetings more so for learning, and we'll get a feel on what next may look like should this program continue. It will be offered to our employees on site at Prince George's Hospital. And just like we did with the CNA program, we'll make sure that they're allowed the time to go, and if they want to make up the time that they missed, then they can. I would also like to tell you that healthcare, as you know, usually averages turnover at about 20%. The turnover for our system has been actually less than 13 at about 12.77, which is pretty remarkable with all the changes that we've been going through. So thank you. Also, some other good things that are going on. It's been growth in our surgical services. Our plan is to continue to have surgical services, and I just want to highlight 2 of our top growing surgical service lines. Our orthopedic program. When I came 5 years ago from University of Maryland, we had a young orthopedic surgeon across the street from Laurel, and was starting his practice and wanted to partner with us. We worked with this young surgeon, and in 5 years, he's grown to a 6-member physician and surgeon practice. And they've been very loyal to Laurel and have been bringing their patients primarily at Laurel, even though they have 3 offices. We actually get patients from Montgomery County that comes to Laurel for their surgery. But they've done a very good job, and we have had increase in our ortho cases from FY 16 to 17 by 23%, and by FY 17 to 18, 10%. The last 2 physicians they just added has been a podiatrist and an orthopedic surgeon that specializes in joint replacement. Our pediatric and special needs dental program, around 4 years ago, there was a large dental practice that approached the hospital saying that there was a community need. It was a 6-month waiting period for a child to get into the OR at a local hospital. And as you can only imagine, and the highlight of the state regarding our pediatric care, it was really a community access. So we built the infrastructure in to do the pediatric dental program. I'm proud to say in 3.5 years, we've gone from 2 dentists and oral surgeons to 18. Our growth has been 11% from FY 16-17 and 39% from FY 17 to 18, with a waiting list of dentists and oral surgeons that want to do surgery at Laurel Regional Hospital. So again, when we look at community need and also expanding it to special needs, it is community access, and we are looking to continue to grow those 2 services. And we also have other surgical services that we're providing, but those are the 2 that I just wanted to highlight, which we have spent a lot of time and energy and efforts on. So this slide is just to remind you, I know you all have seen this slide multiple times, but this is the University of Maryland Laurel Medical Center that we are pending regulatory approval. And then just a reminder of the services, 24/7 emergency services, observation services or short stay, less than 24 to 48 hours of care, outpatient surgery, 2 ORs and 2 procedure rooms, labs, pharmacy, and imaging to support those services, and transitioning from behavioral health from inpatient and to grow the outpatient services of partial hospitalization, outpatient programs, and social substance abuse. Again, this new facility will represent a $50 million investment at University of Maryland, the Laurel community, and we're anticipating increased investment of the campus. This slide is a review of our current services as well as the services that we're proposing to grow. And I want to just give a highlight on behavioral health. I know we've had some conversations of behavioral health services for our community. We held on May 2nd a behavioral health stakeholder group where we had more than 25 stakeholders in the county and also outside the county to come to Laurel. We actually had in the auditorium at Laurel, with the speaker was Dr. Balima Shah, who is the medical director of the psychiatry services for the Prince George's Department of Health. It was a very good meeting. What we heard was the need for improved collaboration across the system and providers of how we actually expand and improve on our outpatient behavioral health services, and things we can do also to look at expand resources for our patients across the county. So this could have went on for an extra hour, the amount of conversations that was had across the table, and they have asked for part 2, which we are planning to have in October. Also, there was a need from Laurel High School as well as Eisenhower Middle School. The 2 principals really came to us and asked if we could host a forum to talk about violence as well as pediatric behavioral health. We had representatives from law enforcement, from psychiatric services, from community advocacy groups, and I think you guys may recognize the gentleman sitting down there. Looks like Mayor Mo. Exactly. So Mayor Mo was there in support, and I thought it was an excellent program. It was sponsored really by the PTA, and they asked us to be there. There had been some recent events, and the principals thought that was important that we had this forum and education before the summer, and we were really happy to host that. And as we continue to partner with our community, I do want to introduce. Absolutely. Exactly. And you lead me to my next point, which I have a new face to introduce. We have Kent Alford. We snatched him away from the Adventist Behavioral Health System, but he's our new director of behavioral health across the system. So actually I'm going to have him come up and finish introduce himself, and just to give a couple of points. He just joined us. Be gentle to him. He just came on board the last 3 weeks, but we're very happy to have him join our team. Kent.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, I'm happy to be here, part of the Capital Region family, and also the Laurel family. Formerly, I'm the Chief Nursing Officer and Director of Behavioral Health at Adventist Healthcare, and I'm happy to be part of this team. So just as Trudy mentioned, the work we're doing in mental health, I'm also committed to making sure that our mental health services are provided as needed for the community. Some of the things that we've already started planning to do and shifting our inpatient services to a more holistic outpatient practice is we're looking at doing a PHP. That's our partial hospitalization program. Folks come in from 8 to 3 and they get everything that's needed in terms of coping skills, groups about, mindfulness, being in the moment, and then dealing with trauma. We really plan to expand that. Currently, we have a 14-bed unit to more of a 28-bed unit where we have co-occurring chemical dependency and an array of psychiatric services that we can provide the community. And again, it's more adjusted to people that work, so you'll see more flexibility, and I'll be able to schedule and support the community at large. And as mentioned before, we do plan to do support groups that really get into the heart of what's happening, and then internally, externally, partnerships. Our adolescent PHP services, or could we partner with people who do it well, and then we continue to provide a layer of support and administration. So I'm really looking forward to it. I have more details, I guess, as we continue these venues, and again, happy to be part of the family.
Be gentle. He's only been here for 3 weeks, so yeah. But we're really pleased to have Ken join the team. Sure, you all know the campus, and the campus development group is continuing to meet. We've been having conversations regarding level of expertise to have a developer to work on the surrounding campus to complement the health services and wellness services that we'll be providing. So at a later time, we'll give more details as that progresses along. So finally, I want to remind everyone that the regulatory approval phase, we had the phase 1, which was the transition of inpatient chronic care and acute rehab service to the University of Maryland Prince George's Hospital Center. Just to remind everyone that a majority of the patients actually that came to that program did come from Prince George's, because their patients being from the trauma, as well as the certified stroke center being there. Right now, there is renovations that are being done to the units where we will be moving those 2 programs. We're looking and anticipating that will be completed by the end of November, and we'll be moving those 2 units. The next regulatory phase, which we're currently in the midst of, we had the public information hearing in May. We had the MIMS stakeholder review and approval that was obtained in July. The HSCRC is now in the process of looking at our rates for our transition of services, and we received a letter about a week ago from the Maryland Healthcare Commission stating that tentatively we are on the September 20th docket for possible approval. So September 20th will be the earliest. If we do not meet that timeline because of HSCRC, then we will probably be on the October 16th docket. So we are anticipating to have the approval to transition by the fall. I like to use the fall-winter, fall being up to the middle of December timeframe, but primarily probably by the end of the year to transition. So this is a summary slide again of our timeline, just to remind all that once we obtain approval to be the freestanding medical facility with observation beds, we will continue to have those services in our current building. There will be no discontinuation of services until the new building is being built. We will break ground, hopefully by the spring of summer of next year, and anticipate to have the new building completed by the spring of 2021. These are all the social media venues that we can be reached. And again, that is the tentative drawing of our new Laurel Medical Center. Any questions?
The mayor's got a couple. I want to thank you, Dr. Hall. And as we've discussed, we're going to have you back on a quarterly basis. And you'll have more news for us at that time, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Mayor, go ahead.
I have something.
Fred, I'm sorry, do you have something, Fred?
Yes, I do. Okay.
Go ahead.
I couldn't be happier with the progress that's being made. As many of us who are seated here certainly know from whence we came. My question is regarding the below 13% turnover in staffing. I'd just like to know, I mean, that's a staggering percentage, and I'd like to know just very briefly what was put into place. That in my mind signifies a lot of staff loyalty.
You hit it on the button.
Yeah. And so I'd just like to know if there were special efforts that were made in just, a brief.
So yes, what I can tell you is it is staggering and it's great for healthcare. So we're really, really proud of it. What I can tell you is it's a partnership with everyone. So it's not any one thing. It's Dr. Hall saying, you know what, I'm going to attend any walkarounds we have and come on the weekends and at night. So, and that did happen. It's having lunch and learns. It's saying, you know what, we will transport you over to Prince George's Hospital if you want to see what it's like to go over there. It's about removing the barriers and being available for people. So what I do know is we show our employees we care, they show us they care. And it's being available. And as I've said and will continue to say, it is about the workforce. It matters not to me if they're represented or unrepresented.
I think we could all say, Laurel Hospital, we knew you when, but that's past, and the future is very exciting.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Another question?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls.
Mm-hmm.
I have something to say.
Yes, Val.
I can just speak to what Veronica Ford has said because, as you know, I work there and I sit in on the lunch and learns, and I did the job shadowing and I did the CNA training, and it's a lot of positive feedback. As you all know, as the patient relations person and chaplain, I'm on the floors and I'm interacting with patients, and it's really been great feedback. Just from the staff, I can say that firsthand, and I've even seen classmates as techs in the emergency room. And they're very happy about it. I think the pulse of the hospital is great. I think just speaking as an employee, I think it's just been a lot of happiness in terms of offering the job training and then transporting people over to the hospital, because I went and I took every opportunity that was offered through HR. So I think it's been very good.
Thank you, Val, and I'd like to really commend Veronica and her team. They've really done a really good job. That one story of our EVS worker who is now a tech in the ED, and she's going to stay. I mean, that is powerful, and we have more that are like her. So really looking at some of our staff and upskilling them. Really having them learn the new skills that actually, they can become a CNA to a tech and maybe one day a nurse. But we're needing to really invest in our workforce, and that's really, really important. If we have loyal employees, how do we have our loyal employees be able to expand their career opportunities and stay with us? Because the reality is they all have said, we want to stay. We want to stay. Quite a bit, not all, but most of them have said that they want to stay, which is very positive.
Anything else, Mr. Mayor? I'm sorry, Carl.
I have a question, please.
Sure, sir.
As far as the mental health issue goes, I've attended a lot of different seminars, and I have a lot of neighbors in my neighborhood because I'm close to Main Street, and we have a couple facilities on Main Street as far as the opioid crisis and the drug abuse and everything that pertains to that. And I think their number one concern is the facilities themselves, that we need more of them and we need more treatment centers. And the more and more you could give to our community until we get a grip on this epidemic, I think it has possibly reached a point where we understand it a lot more, and what has destroyed some of our communities as far as the opioids go. But now it's to treat the ones that are addicted, and the more and more that University of Maryland Medical Center could do for that until we get it to such a point where we get it under control would be greatly appreciated, I believe.
I agree, and what's exciting, we have spoken to a few vendors that actually do this well, and they're actually possibly looking to come and provide those services in our community. Now that we have Kent here, really a subject matter expertise, and he's really worked around the state, really having a leader that's able to coordinate and really, determine what would a good service look like. There is a void in those services in the current Laurel. So looking at what the community needs are and really expanding that. A lot of this is about prevention. when we look at population health, if we actually address a lot of the mental health issues, work with the schools, work with the young adults, if we do a lot of these outreach programs and really do a better job when they come in our door and making sure that they are not revolving and giving them the resources of what they need to keep them in the community. It's almost like thinking, you build too much of something that's going to house a problem. Why not fix the problem so you may not need that building to house the problem? And I think that's really where our focus is going on. That's where the rest of the country's focus is going on, and that's where the payers are focusing on. So we really need to work on that. But you bring up a top point, and again, we've talked to some really good vendors that are looking to really invest into
Every time you guys come here, bringing him on board, that's fabulous. You bring somebody like
yeah, we're really happy. We're really happy.
Yes.
But
And
that's our
his
focus.
qualifications.
And then looking at our inpatient, and we've really now working more collaboratively with University of Maryland, and they're making some changes regarding some of their behavioral health services, and also opening up some beds and access. So we've actually been in conversations with our University of Maryland partners for psychiatric services, and looking at how we can actually collaborate more and do more with them.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeWalt. Mayor?
Thanks, Trudy. Appreciate everything that you all are doing. I just want to say, talking to some of the employees, and as you heard Councilman Smalls bring up, I think the difference is there is a vision now. Dimensions had no vision. People went to work and didn't realize that the next day they were going to be fired or let go or something else. And I think the trust has, at least those that I have spoken to that work within the system, feel like HR and the hospital, University of Maryland, is really trying to project their goals, the responsibilities, that they're trying to put out into the community. And they feel like, at least they know they have a job. And I think that's important. Just a couple questions. I did want to ask, how did you respond on how working with the union has been going? I know you said a couple.
So my union partner is here.
Okay.
She's like, don't you call me up there. So I won't. So she is here. And with the next phase that's coming up, our patient care tech, they are attending each one of those meetings to learn like what this process is going to look like. So I'm hopeful that more to come, as we solidify more of how we do this thing in concert, that I'm hopeful for more to come, but it's
So the workforce development committee that we had put together really seemed like it got us off to a good start, or you all off to a good start from what I
absolutely
see and hear.
For all the suggestions that were made from that committee, we incorporated 90% of what was suggested. So it was a great start. It was a great pathway to get us where we are today. As we continue to progress, we'll be in phase 2.
Okay.
And when we're ready to present all of phase 2, then the union will definitely be at the table.
Good. So relationships seem to be going well.
They seem to be.
keeping them in check, I see. Okay. All right. Very good.
Well, I've done a couple town halls, and they've been present with a notebook. So
well,
they've
no,
been
I
present.
think
Yeah, which is really
again, I
important.
think we relied heavily on the union when we put the committee together, and I think I'm hopeful it gave everybody a good start, and it seems like it has been. Trudy, the other thing, I don't necessarily need an answer because I need to go back and look at my notes, but I thought we were keeping part of the chronic care at the hospital on site.
Yeah, we were
Was that
going to
your
move
committee?
the chronic. We were moving the chronic care because the majority of those patients came from Prince George's Hospital, so it made sense to
I
move
may be
it.
thinking of something different then.
Yeah. And ironically, the chronic care unit was at Prince George's 7 years ago, and it was moved to Laurel, so we're actually moving it back to
I'm
Prince
thinking of the
George's.
critical care.
Yeah.
I got to go back and look.
Okay.
But most of the recommendations that were made by the committee seem to be moving forward through as we phase out and move towards the new system, as I call it. I think, again, it's important that we remind residents and those visiting the hospital that, first off, you're in service, you're going to be in service, that there is I observation piece of this. So you can be stabilized, you can up to 48 hours at the hospital, and then if need be, you would be transported within the system to the regional center. The other thing that, because I think Mary, Councilmember Lehman, and Delegate Pena-Melnick were very forceful on the mental health piece. And I think one of the things that some of the tours that I went on, and I can't remember where, but our concern was that 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, after hours, whatever you want to take, there is a patient that needs that service. What is the answer to that?
So we will have a 4-bed psych stabilization unit in the new Laurel Medical Center.
Okay.
Which will be conducive to our law enforcement as well as our crisis mobile centers. So we're actually going to have a separate entrance. We're going to have those patients in a supervised setting with certified nurse and licensed social workers who know psychiatric disorders. And we will continue, and we are going to continue to invest to have psychiatrists to cover those patients. So we will continue to have those services.
Will any of that be done by video that we've looked at?
We're looking to not do it remotely. We're looking to have those services.
So the service will be on
We'll
site.
continue
That's
those
even
services
better.
on
Okay.
site. But for now, that's the plan
You're on tape. We got you.
Okay. For now. Probably. Yeah, but that's the plan.
Yeah, I think Mr. Walt brings up a good point. I would encourage you all. The things that are occurring, and I think especially within the police department, we see the reports that come across, and it's probably daily that we see someone going to the hospital for psych evaluation, emergency, whatever it may be, voluntary, and we're seeing more and more of that. And I think we're starting to see more opioid and others within this general area, not just in Laurel, but just in the region, which is, I think important that people realize that services will be there. And I think we're all going to have to partner and all work together to really solve this problem. It's not going to be the hospital. It's not going to be elected officials. It's not going to be police department. It's going to be everybody in the community working together on this. And as I said, enough is enough with the schools. I really think I'm seeing a change there. We talk to the principals quarterly, and I just think that's important that the more we get these services available and recognize that, that's going to be important. We're doing part of that here through the city through our youth services program. So, I'm glad to see you get somebody from the Adventists, because you don't want me to start talking about the Adventists either.
Yeah, we start talking about
again, I just want to thank you for reaching out, continue to do work. I'm hearing good things, and we still got a ways to go. It's, but I think the more that you're out there and we're letting people know what's going to happen there, it won't take them by surprise.
And we're going to continue with the outreach, and as well as some, I know we have an article coming out in the Laurel Leader, I think next week, with some, that we have coming out with some education. And also we're continuing to partner with our Mobile Integrative Health Unit in helping to support them and evaluating patients in the community. So this is a new day. We are really excited for the changes and really being on the forefront of healthcare. And again, we will be the first in the state that will make this transition. So we're really excited to do this.
Good.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Again, Trudy, thanks a lot for coming. I'm going to take a 5-minute recess to allow all the people from Maryland to leave.
Thank you. You've had a long day.
I thought it was
sir.
Thank you. I love what's the name of the hearings for the Supreme Court. He just kept it. Yeah. Okay, we'll move to agenda item number 7A, consideration of bid recommendation for the fleet acquisition of one 25 cubic yard refuse truck, Department of Public Works. Do we have anything to add?
Nothing to add. As you said earlier, it's the same. The department is purchasing that refuse truck to facilitate and enhance our operations.
Okay, this will not increase the fleet.
No.
We're going to surplus the whatever's left of the other one.
Yes, sir.
Huh? Not much.
Yeah.
And this was discussed at the work session. What's the pleasure of the council?
The president vote yes to purchase one refuse truck.
Thank you, Mr. Sidnor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. DeWalt. Any discussion? Call roll, Ms. Rau.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
President Les?
Yes. Move to 7B, consideration of bid recommendation for the fleet acquisition of a 2018 Chevrolet Isuzu cab and chassis for the paint machine. And again, I'll note that the paint machine we have already bought. So this is just for the chassis of the truck to carry the paint machine.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything to be added since the work session?
No, sir.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President, I move for approval of the bid recommendation for the fleet acquisition of a 2018 Chevrolet Isuzu cab and chassis for paint machine.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholas. Any discussion? Call the roll, Ms. Rau.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
President Les?
Yes. Move to 7C, consideration of the bid recommendation for the fleet acquisition of one stake body truck with liftgate. I'll note that this will be replacing an existing truck, so there'll be no increase in the fleet. Is there anything to add since the work session, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President, I vote yes to purchase one stake body truck with a lift.
Thank you, Mr. Sidnor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, Ms. Rau.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
President Les?
Yes. Move to 7D, consideration of the recommendation to renew employee health benefit insurance with Cigna Healthcare and Aetna Dental. Is there anything to add since the work session?
No, sir.
Okay. I want to commend you on getting it down to, what, a 3% increase, if I remember correctly?
4% for health and 3.3 for the dental.
I wish the federal was only going to be 4% this coming year. Okay, real good. What's the pleasure of the council?
I move to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Any discussion?
I would like to say something, please.
Sure.
I would like to thank Lisa for supplying the health and dental insurance retiree selection to me. Just a couple brief comments on it. You have the single, the double, and the family. The single in the current plan is $842.21. It's going up to $884.37. Now, if you do take the city's contribution of $500, it's very, as far as a single plan, it's very reasonable, but it is increasing by $42. If you look at the double plan, which Lisa just informed me, there's only 2 people that actually will use the double plan. It's $1,615 currently. It's going up to $1,696, which is an increase of $70-some dollars, which is about $900 with the minus the $500. It's about $1,100 a month, almost $1,200 out of pocket. Retirees plan. If you look at the family plan, which is so expensive, nobody, I don't think, will ever use it because it's currently at $2,475. It's going up to $2,599, which is going to put it at about $2,000 a year. And I know a lot of our retirees don't even make that much money in their retirement. The point of all this is that we're still looking at cost of living adjustment. And I don't call it a COLA because it's a cost of living adjustment. These are the little things, the $40-some, the $70-some, the $100, where each year that cost of living goes up. And the retirees, once you get a retirement from the city of Laurel and you do not obtain any sort of cost of living adjustment as far as your daily living expenses go, then you keep falling further and further and further behind. And this is one of the just examples of an increase in the health insurance that's going to affect the retirees that have to utilize this sort of health and dental insurance. And it's the same thing with everything else in the cost of living that we have every day that increases. And when you don't get an increase in your retirement benefit, therefore you keep falling further and further behind. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. DeWalt. Okay, what's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President, we do have I just need to call roll now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's okay. Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
I'm going to abstain from voting.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
President Les?
Yes. I apologize, Ms. Rau.
That's okay.
My mind went somewhere else for a minute. Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Move to number 8 legislation. Ordinance number 1931, text amendment number 250. An ordinance to amend the Laurel Unified Land Development Code, Chapter 20, Land Development and Subdivision, Article 1, Zoning, Division 5 Zoning Districts, Section 20-7.8, Section 20-8.3, Section 20-9.5, and Section 20-12.3 of the City Code to allow for a house of worship in certain commercial, office building, industrial, and mixed-use zones as a permitted use and providing an effective date. I've read the title into the record. I'll open the public hearing at 8:11. I have no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing at 8:11 and a half. The second public hearing with possible action will be at the Mayor and City Council meeting on Monday, September 24th, 2018 at 5 o'clock. Move to agenda item 8B. Ordinance number 1932, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland, to amend the City of Laurel Unified Land Development Code, Chapter 20, Land Development Subdivision, to add article via telecommunications facilities in public rights of way, to provide for certain standards and regulations relating to the location of telecommunications towers, antennas, and other structures within a city's public rights of way, consistent with federal and state law, and providing an effective date. I've read the title into the record. I'll open the public hearing at 8:12. I have no one signed up to speak on this agenda item. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing at 8:12 and a half.
President.
Yes, Mayor.
I just want to let council know, as we stated at the work session, we may have some amendments. We may ask for you to hold off at the vote. This seems to be changing daily at the federal government as well, so we're keeping an eye on it. We just want to get it done right the first time, so we'll keep everybody posted. I'll let you know. Thank you.
Okay, the second public hearing with possible action will be at the Mayor and City Council meeting on Monday, September 24th, 2018 at 5 p.m. Okay, agenda item 8C, introduction and first public hearing on resolution number 5-18, a resolution creating an education advisory committee. I've read into the record, and I'll open the public hearing at 8:13. I have no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing at 5:13 and a half. And Marty, did you want to comment on this? I'm sorry.
You're not on this.
Okay, so this will be on the agenda for approval at the 5 p.m. September 24th Mayor and City Council meeting. With that, I'll go to Marty about the weather report. I apologize, Marty.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you and everybody else in this room are probably no doubt aware, we have an action-packed, fun-filled Atlantic Ocean right now with 3 hurricanes in there. Right now, Helene and Isaac are somewhat of a less concern for us. They appear to be heading north and west, so we may not have to deal with them, but right now Florence is our big concern. We've had briefings today with the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission, as well as the Statewide Emergency Operations Center and the National Weather Service. National Weather Service is repeatedly telling us that this has the potential to be a historic storm. So we are encouraging the public to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. In our discussions with the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission, as anyone who's been involved in any flood operations in or near the city, you're probably aware that the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission is near and dear to our heart as far as their operations of the upstream dams. There are 2 major potable water reservoirs west of the city. The Brighton Reservoir is right on the edge of the border of the city, and that's the most concerning. But in our discussions today, we had heard that Brighton Dam, which over most of the summer had been was being worked on. There was a lot of maintenance operations on the waterside dam face, which forced the dewatering of practically the entire reservoir watershed. That right now is, with all the rain that we've been having, is definitely filling back up. They have about 10.5 feet left of capacity before the water level reaches the top edge of the dam. Duckett Dam is right now 3.5 feet below the top edge of the dam. As most of you are probably aware, the operations agreements that we have with the WSSC, as well as the state agreements, require them to maintain at least 3 foot of freeboard. So the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission will be releasing water tomorrow to add more capacity. In discussing that, those operations with some businesses along the river, they've expressed concern that WSSC should have been dewatering a lot earlier than what they have been to date. So WSSC has work being done on the opposite side of the dam face, basically at the foot of the dam, and that has precluded them from doing any dewatering operations up to this point in time. The contractor doing the work was ordered early this morning to start removing equipment and false work needed to do the maintenance operations, and they expect that they will be dewatering first thing tomorrow. We have also learned that they have been doing some dewatering through the electrical turbine system that they have there. But that's not very efficient as far as dewatering operations go. Sometime tomorrow, they expect that they will start dewatering with most of the gates opening, with I believe, the exception of 3 gates. 3 gates will remain closed because of the area of work being done that would potentially be disturbed by flowing water. So what this means for us is we have already closed the path on Riverfront Park, and that will likely be closed all the way through this rain event. The dewatering operations that WSSC will conduct tomorrow will put parts of the path underwater. So we will be maintaining observations on the path and monitoring for damage. The other issue is the parking, the MARC train station parking, which is down on the east side of the railroad bridge on Main Street. We have closed off a portion of that parking lot already, and we have been working with MARC operations so that they can get the word out to their ridership. At this point in time, WSSC is advised that they will open or maintain the flow of water so that there's a storm drain grate that's down in the parking lot there. They've advised that they will bring water up through that grate, but they should not flood a major portion of the parking area. But being cautious, we have closed off that portion of the parking lot. WSSC does not intend to continue dewatering operations through this storm. They have advised that their target water level will be 7 feet below the top edge of the dam. And based on National Weather's predictions, they expect that 7 feet will give them enough capacity to trap the water that is coming from Florence and still leave them with some margin of safety. During the storm, or just prior to the storm, WSSC will stop dewatering with the exception of either the bunger valve, which is at the very foot of the dam, or the generator system that they have. One of the two of those will be operating. The bunger valve is in place basically to make sure that the river always has water in it, so that we can maintain the plant life and wildlife along the river, as well as the aquatic life. They expect that any flooding that we see in Laurel is more than likely going to come from local runoff. And local runoff is what water drops on the city and ends up in a storm drain system and outflows to the river. They believe that the runoff from our storm drain systems are probably going to be, the capacity of those systems are probably going to be strained by this weather event, and we will likely see flooding. So all of our departments are well into their preparations for flood operations, and we are working with all of our emergency management partners, including the county, as far as potentially having the need to open up shelters. We are pre-staging those shelters with food that will be purchased that we will use as a temporary basis. What we're looking to do is open up our own shelters and use those shelters as a staging area to get people into more permanent, and by permanent I don't mean long-term shelter, but to get them to a facility where they could stay for the duration of the event and for the potential of having to do restoration of their living quarters. So we will be opening up the Emergency Operations Center, and the Emergency Operations Center, once it's opened at whatever stage, it will continue to be open throughout this event and throughout our recovery and restoration effort. Once it's opened, it will also be staffed 24/7 with somebody who will be taking calls from anybody who has a need. That, in a nutshell, is where we're at. We will continue to update you through our contact medium for the council members, but we're also going to be pushing out all this information through all of our social media, TV. Every venue we have to push out information will be utilized for this event. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming. Any questions of Mr. Fleming?
Mr. President, I do have one or two real quick ones. Marty, I presume when you talk about disseminating, promulgating information, our electronic message boards, et cetera, will be used. Will there be anything that will be available for the community to go through, like a checklist of things that they should have in preparation for the storm? You always talk about having an emergency kit. Well, nobody pays much attention to that generally until an emergency occurs. So I'm just interested in knowing if there will be that kind of information that will be available to the public.
Well, there's been press releases already disseminated on this event. I have not, I'll admit it, I'm guilty, I have not read the press release yet, other than to skim it prior to its going out, but I believe the press release has some tips on it. We will be putting on our website information for people to be able to go to and gather information on what they should be doing in preparation for this. We encourage, especially for what the National Weather Service is calling a potentially historic event, we encourage everybody to do what they can to prevent flooding in their homes. Obviously, gutters, downspouts, making sure those are cleaned out, eliminating what you can as far as low spots near your basement foundations. even as far as taking a look in your neighborhood storm drain system. If you look into the catch basins, if you see anything in those, give our Public Works Department a call. Even though those structures are maintained by Prince George's County, in situations like this, our Public Works Department will go out and clean them out so that we can do whatever we can to avoid flooding. There's a lot of single-family homes in the city of Laurel that have exterior stairs leading to basement doors. At the bottom of those, there's a drain. We encourage you to take a look at those drains. In my neighborhood, Laurel Hills, if somebody's basement floods, it's likely because they haven't maintained that drain at the bottom of the stairs. And once that stairwell starts to fill up,
there is general information about an emergency on our website so there's that as well that people can check. Something went
So
out.
would our electronic message boards direct folks to the website for detailed information? Could it possibly do that?
it could do that. I'm guilty. I'm not entirely sure at this point in time what the message is on that. But I'm sure that our communications director, Audrey Barnes, will be working very close with Steve tomorrow on further information being pushed out in the form of tips for people to employ to try and make themselves safe. Food, water, obviously those things, flashlights, batteries.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Prescriptions. Very good, Michelle. That was good. Prescriptions, if you have prescriptions waiting at your pharmacy, by all means go pick them up. If you have critical medications that you need and you're running shy on, you might want to give your doctor a call, have the prescriptions refilled and get them. And grocery shopping, I expect there's going to be a lot of traffic at grocery stores tomorrow, and as we get closer and closer to this event, the crowds will be more and more, and the available foodstuffs will become less and less.
Yeah. We do not want people to panic. We're telling people to be prepared for those that may be listening. We always plan for the worst and pray for the best. So there's stuff on our website. We'll be pumping information out. Laurel TV will probably have some things. You can call your council members who also know on the website where to go for certain things. But we don't want anybody, we're just tracking the storm. We know that we flood in certain areas. And the way they're talking, as Marty said, there is quite a bit of rain that could be coming our way. So.
Generator safety, I'll leave you with that. If you have a generator and you lose power, please make sure you operate it in a manner that will keep you and your family safe.
Thank you, Marty. Anything else to come before the council? Meeting's adjourned.
Now.